The PlayStation 5 costs $499. The Xbox Series S is $299. And suddenly my feeds are blowing up with reports that Cupertino's about to drop an absolute bomb on the global gaming market for under $130. This is supposedly the Apple TV Ultra, and it's being hyped as the hardware that'll change everything we know about living room gaming forever. But honestly, I'll believe it when I see it. Because the catch here is massive, and frankly, the supply chain math is making my head spin. Inside sources are confirming this is an ultra-exclusive, limited edition drop. Apple's apparently keeping the supply incredibly tight, launching it strictly in the United States, the United Kingdom, and select European countries first. If you're outside those regions, you're just completely locked out of the first wave. But let's look at what they're actually claiming Apple just stuffed inside this tiny $130 box. Because if these specs are accurate, it's going to sell out in literally seconds. The word on the street is that Apple's throwing a brand new, massive A20 Monster Chip straight into your living room. Yes, the exact same bleeding-edge silicon expected to go into the future iPhone 18 Pro. For 3 long years, the Apple TV was stuck on the exact same old processor. It genuinely felt like Apple just gave up and sat back while Sony and Microsoft completely took over your house with heavy, massive gaming consoles. But according to recent chatter, they weren't sleeping at all. They were just waiting for TSMC 3nm yields to hit the right numbers so they could build an absolute beast. They're skipping the small, incremental upgrades and putting an A20 chip in a box that plugs directly into your wall power. Why does that matter? Think about how these chips actually work in the real world. When an A20 is packed inside a phone, it gets hot fast. The system aggressively manages the battery life, and the phone inevitably experiences thermal throttling to prevent catastrophic overheating. But with this Apple TV Ultra, there's no battery to drain. There's zero thermal throttling holding it back. This means that A20 silicon can run at 100% maximum speed all day, every day. It'll never slow down. It'll never get tired. Now, Ming-Chi Kuo has been pretty vocal lately about Apple's silicon pipeline, and when you pair his latest supply chain notes with what we're hearing from Shrimp Apple Pro about the internal thermal design of new Apple TV prototypes, a seriously wild picture starts to emerge. This thing reportedly packs 12 GB of unified RAM and features hardware-accelerated ray tracing. We're talking about dynamic lighting, deep shadows, and water reflections that look hyper-realistic. These are the exact same high-end graphical features that Sony constantly brags about on the PS5, allegedly running perfectly on a dead-silent box that fits right in the palm of your hand. Are PlayStation and Xbox actually ready for this? Because it looks like Apple just set up the ultimate trap, and the traditional console makers are walking straight into it right now. Think about the current system. If you want to play a massive AAA game right now, you have to spend $500 on a heavy metal box that heats up your entire room like a space heater. Then you drop $70 for the game itself. Then you pay a monthly subscription fee just to play online with your friends. Apple's supposedly taking a sledgehammer to that entire business model. Do you guys actually think Apple can pull off a true console killer at this ridiculous price point? Or is this just another pipe dream? Let me know down in the comments, because the pricing strategy here makes absolutely zero sense to me. They're aggressively bringing blockbuster AAA titles like Resident Evil, Death Stranding, and Assassin's Creed into one single, unified ecosystem. And here's the magic trick that completely justifies the entire buy-in. You buy the massive game once. You're sitting on the train commuting to work, playing a heavy action game on your iPhone as your daily driver. You get home, walk into your living room, grab a wireless Bluetooth controller, and instantly fire up the Apple TV Ultra. You pick up exactly where you left off. No loading screens, no extra monthly fees, no buying the game a second time for a different console. Your games just follow you everywhere you go. The seamless integration of the Apple ecosystem literally becomes the console itself. It's almost like an inverse Apple tax, where you actually save money by staying entirely inside their walled garden. But let's be real for a second. Mark Gurman has warned us time and time again about Apple's gaming ambitions being a very slow burn. Getting major third-party developers to actually optimize for this hardware is notoriously difficult, even with tools like the Game Porting Toolkit. So having the hardware is great, but they desperately need the actual games to back it up. But gaming is only half the story here. Apple's apparently packing this little box with their ultimate AI weapon. We all know the old Siri was incredibly frustrating to use. You asked it a simple question, and it just blindly handed you a useless web link to look at on your phone. Forget that old Siri. The rumor is that the Apple TV Ultra is built from the ground up specifically for the new Apple Intelligence. You might not even need to hold the remote anymore to get things done. You just talk to your living room like you're talking to a real human being. You walk in and say, "Find that sci-fi action game I was playing yesterday, load my last save, and turn off all the living room lights." Boom. It all happens instantly. And the reason it can do this so seamlessly and quickly is directly tied to reports we're seeing from DG Times and Mac Otakara regarding Apple's internal component sourcing. Apple's officially tossing in their brand new, custom-designed networking chip. That means you get Wi-Fi 7 built directly into the box. Wi-Fi 7 means zero lag and zero buffering whatsoever. If you're playing highly competitive online multiplayer games, your wireless connection is going to be flawless, assuming your home network router can actually handle it. On top of that, the ELEC has been detailing Apple's aggressive push into smart home dominance, and it perfectly aligns with this device acting as the ultimate centralized smart home hub. It connects directly to your security cameras, your smart locks, and your ambient lights with native Thread support built right in. No extra third-party hubs required, no clunky bridges taking up Ethernet ports on your router. Ross Young has also been dropping hints about Apple's broader display output strategies, and while he usually focuses heavily on mobile screens, the implication for a device like this pushing high refresh rate, variable frame rate content to top-tier OLED televisions is massive for the home theater crowd. So let's recap what we're supposedly getting. We have an A20 chip, 12 GB of unified memory, hardware ray tracing, Wi-Fi 7, Apple Intelligence, and full AAA gaming capabilities, all stuffed into a $130 box that launches in heavily restricted limited quantities. The hardware sounds like an absolute dream come true, but the economics of this rumor are what keep tripping me up every single time I read it. A $130 price tag for cutting-edge 3nm silicon completely defies Apple's historical margin structure. I mean, they literally charge $100 just for a braided Thunderbolt cable. How on earth are they selling an A20-powered gaming console for just $30 more than a cable? My best guess is that the limited regional release is basically a massive, paid beta test, or the $130 price point is heavily subsidized by some sort of mandatory Apple Arcade Plus subscription that they just haven't announced to the public yet. Either way, if this Apple TV Ultra actually drops at this specific price, it's going to completely and utterly disrupt the living room space overnight. You had better have your credit card ready the exact second the Apple Store goes back online, because this first wave is going to vanish in absolute seconds.